so please be gentle with me. And Addo is a non-profit that's been going since 2006, working in the area all the way from Knysna, 400 kilometers towards Addo Elephant Park. And I know we're at the end of 3 days and your brains are probably saturated, but what I want you to do is zoom out a little bit and let those neural pathways start making connections, because that's what Eden to Addo is about. It's about making the connections, joining the dots in our heads and on the landscape. And it is inspired by a very special elephant in the Knysna forest. So you can go to the next one. So the vision of Eden to Addo is to link 3 mega reserves: the Garden Route National Park, the Baviaanskloof Heritage Site, and the Addo Elephant Park, linking via ecological corridors to restore the integrity and protect the integrity of biodiversity, but as well as ecosystem functioning, and linking this to sustainable livelihoods for the benefit of all life. And it's inspired by one elephant. If you can go to the next slide. She is the last elephant of the Knysna forests. She is the symbol of what happens when the landscape is fragmented by human activity. She is using a smaller and smaller habitat range as the forest is more and more used for other activities besides the original logging. And she has become for us, as I said, a symbol of what happens when the landscape is fragmented and there is no longer an opportunity to migrate. We ourselves, our ancient ancestors, were migratory. We migrated through different biomes according to the seasons, and animals, of course, over the eons have as well. But due to our fortress conservation and our isolated, protected areas, the animals are no longer able to migrate. So the vision, the dream was for maybe one day for her to join the Addo elephants, but because she's confining herself to smaller and smaller range, this is probably not a case. But she symbolizes to the sunbird that won't fly over the wattle plantation to get to the protea on the other side. Next slide. So what we do is we engage with landowners and all stakeholders, government conservation bodies, to establish and identify nature corridors. And then we facilitate the declaration of these properties to be either nature reserves or protected environments, and apply sound land use management plans and audits, and then of course encourage diversity of environmentally sustainable land use practices and ecotourism, such as the Eden to Addo Great Corridor Hike, which I will go into a little bit. And we also motivate landowners who are no longer able to sustainably get an income from their land to look at investors who would like to invest in conservation land. And lastly, educate the public and landowners around fences and the issues around fences in terms of connectivity and corridors. So here is the big picture of the Eden to Addo corridors. I said we were going to zoom out. So we start down here in the south. I know it's really small, but this is for those of you who know Robberg Nature Reserve. And this is one of our successful corridors. We have the Robberg Coastal Corridor, which joins Robberg Nature Reserve with Garden Route National Park. So it's a corridor that runs all along the coast. Then the next corridor that we are focusing on is the Keelworms River Corridor. We don't have any protected areas declared there yet. You can see here the yellow, these are all declared properties, is the yellow. So that's our next corridor that we're focused on. Our other successful corridor is in the Langkloof, the Skilderkrans corridor, which connects Garden Route National Park with Baviaanskloof World Heritage Site. And then, of course, here is the area of interest for the thicketeers. And where we are putting a lot of focus is in the Springbok-Vlakte corridor. We do also have a successful protected environment area here in the Noordsveld. But this is our area of focus here, where we're seeing very degraded land, farmers who are not necessarily able to be economically viable, and it makes just so much sense to connect Addo with Baviaans. Oh, and also to mention, so we have this great corridor hike that starts at Garden Route National Park and is an intense experience of wilderness for 400 kilometers. It's a slack packing hike, so you have a full backup team. So when you arrive at camp at night, your tent is set up, your food is cooked, and you get to just experience this immense wilderness. So it's a real pilgrimage. And you land up all the way at Addo 11 Park. Also, just to note that the entire corridor vision is 100,000 hectares, and we have already declared 50,000 hectares of that, so we're halfway to our goal. So in terms of South Africa and protected areas, I actually just added the slide in last night, just to give you a sense of where we are as a country in terms of our protected areas. We only have 9% of our land mass protected. And of course, the 30 by 30 goal from COP15 is to have 30% protected by the year 2030. So we have our work cut out for us. And just the reason I zoomed out is to just give you a sense of the other countries bordering onto us and how much of their land mass is already protected. For example, Botswana is about 30%, Namibia 37%, Zambia over 40%, and we are on 9% of formerly protected areas. So all the more reason to be working with private landowners and encouraging them to declare their properties, but also looking where we can link these properties because of the problems around genetic stasis in isolated protected areas. And this is what the research is showing. So this is from the ecology unit at Stellenbosch University. They have an organization called Wildlife Free to Roam, which works mainly with the Peace Parks Foundation and the Transfrontier Parks. And what we are seeing and what we are saying is that protected areas are, of course, the cornerstone of conservation. We know that. But they are not sufficient in isolation to conserve the biodiversity and absorb the environmental shocks related to climate change. So the species need to fluctuate and track these environmental conditions through these fragmented landscapes, and they are seeing that landscape connectivity is an extremely important tool in maintaining the resilience and on this scale of global change. So science has convincingly demonstrated that these interconnected protected areas are much more effective than the disconnected, isolated protected areas. And this new understanding is driving a global shift in conservation practice. And here we have a quote from the well-loved and well-known Prof. Cowling, where he noted that this particular corridor that we are working in is the most biodiverse corridor for its size globally. So because we have 5 biomes from forest to fynbos, Nama Karoo, succulent Karoo, and of course thicket, it is truly remarkable in his words and wholly irreplaceable. So here we have the Springbok-Vlakte, As I said, this is our focus area at the moment, where we really want to create a new corridor linking, as I said, Baviaanskloof with Addo Elephant Park. The light green is the buffer zone of Addo, and the dark green is the official park. And this area, if you go to the next slide, you'll see the Springbok Vlakte out on the lowlands. This is an area we are collaborating with a landowner and farmer in the area to create a tented camp to start encouraging ecotourism and income from activities other than farming. Next slide, please. And the vegetation types for the Springbok Vlakte are lovely tapestry of 4 different biomes: fynbos, thicket, succulent karoo, and nama karoo. So this beautiful tapestry of different vegetation types that are, of course, have all these edges, and we know how important edges are. So it has been called, if you go to the next slide, an ecotone of these 4 different biomes. And once again, Prof. Cowling says that these boundaries between succulent karoo and nama karoo, are there even any of these in protected areas? So a high priority for conservation. Just an example of some of the rare succulents that are found in the area. Some of them named after the Springbok Vlakte, the Haworthia Springbok Vlakensis. And one of the major threats, of course, at the moment is the poaching of succulents in the area. According to Sandby, it's gone up by 250% in the last 3 years. So what are the threats that we are facing in this area? I mean, I'm speaking to those of you who know all too well that there is habitat loss and fragmentation due to the agricultural activities. It's mainly ranching of goats and sheep, so very extensive overgrazing and habitat degradation. And then, of course, the fences, which restrict the movement of species and causing death and electric shocks. Cases of electric fences preventing tortoises from getting to their river source that they were used to, and lines of dead tortoises against these electric fences as they retreat into their shells and are shocked. Poaching, as I mentioned, of plants is a major threat, and then this genetic stasis due to these isolated protected areas and animals not able to move and migrate, especially as the climate changes. So what is our way forward in the Springbok Vlakte? We are and have been working for many years with our corridor coordinator, developing relationships with the landowners to see which properties are best in terms of their biodiversity, but also which landowners would like to sell for conservation purposes. And then, so we have lots of data on which farmers are interested and which farms have got which vegetation types. So now we really need to work with funders and investors who would like to either purchase or lease the land for conservation to create these corridors, and then we would declare them nature reserves or protected environments, dependent on their biodiversity status. And then we'd really like to work with researchers who would like to document the changes in land use and how that shifts the biodiversity status as the fences come down. And of course, then establish ecotourism ventures such as guided hikes and trails. And yes, then just as we envision the last Knysna elephant migrating as she used to, we wonder if perhaps the Springbok Vlakte will really become the Springbok Vlakte again, and we will have the Springbok migrating across there as they used to. People used to sit on their stoep and see them migrate for days on end. So could that be possible? Thank you.
Thanks, Rhian.